The voting booth. Great leveler of class and cultural differences, including differences in language.
You go so and then you go so.
No matter one's language, and whether spoken or signed, the right to vote belongs equally to all. To do otherwise would be to discriminate and deny a fundamental right. Yet that is precisely what almost happened in Trinidad and Tobago in 1943. For the first time ever, the right to vote would be given to all adults over 21. But, and here's the catch, only to those who could prove they understood English. The recommendation of the English language qualification for voting came from the Franchise Committee, a broad-based committee established to consider the desirability of introducing universal adult suffrage and to offer recommendations for doing so. The list of Franchise Committee members reads like a who's who of colonial Trinidad in the post-war period. In a minority report, lawyer trade unionist Adrian Rienzi denounced the English language requirement as an attempt to deprive a large proportion of the Indian community of the right to vote.
And very fortunately, the trade union movement led at that time by Ralph Mentor, strongly supported Rienzi.
Many leaders from that black-brown middle class who saw themselves as the natural heirs to British colonial rule, the group that Eric Williams and the PNM, early PNM comes out of, many of them did recognize that there was a political threat from Indo-Trinidadian voters once adult suffrage was granted.
Rienzi's position also found decisive support from a powerful player, the Colonial Office in London.
And to the credit of the policymakers at the Colonial Office, they recognized the language test for what it was, a fairly blatant attempt to disenfranchise a very significant percentage of the Indo-Trinidadian population. I mean, there is no question that had the language test been put into effect, the group that would have been by far the most affected would have been older Indo-Trinidadians who were not competent in English.
In October 1944, a full year after the committee's report was released, it was tabled in the Legislative Council. Rienzi was no longer on the council, but 3 East Indian legislators who had been on the Franchise Committee and supported the English language requirement had switched. Timothy Rudall, Saran Tilak Singh and George Fitzpatrick voted for its elimination. But yet again, the majority stood in favor of it. With East Indian organizations intensifying their lobby against the language qualification, the Colonial Secretary of State, Edward Stanley, instructed a reluctant Governor Clifford Bede to use the governor's reserve power to defeat the legislature's vote, but the governor was unwilling to confront the legislature. 5 months later, on March 27, 1945, the Colonial Office in London issued an order refusing the English language qualification and paving the way for universal adult suffrage. On Election Day, July 1, 1946, every adult 21 years and over, regardless of whether they understood English or not, could vote for the candidate of their choice. Finally, the individual right to vote had come to Trinidad and Tobago.